Welcome to Linux Saloon, a place to discuss tech, open source, and where Linux is always on tap. Each show will have talk about Linux projects such as the Linux distribution, desktop environment application. We also chat about the news, any variety of topics from the community. It's an open mic night after all, so anything that is Linux tech and open source related is on the table for discussion. And with me today, I'm sorry, I missed a line. It says, I'm Nate, and with me today, I got a fantastic panel of people. I got Dale, Hip Dad, Penguin Revolution, Eric, sporting the Volkswagen, and Mike Chilson. How is everybody?
Okie dokie here.
Doing well.
I can feel, absolutely feel the excitement. It's just pouring through my screen. Thank you for being here. I really appreciate it. Oh, we got some people in the chat here. We got War Thunder, Code 2610. I don't know if it's Code 20, it's supposed to be 2610, but whenever I see Code 2610, I always think of the Atari 2600. So in my mind, I'm hoping that Code 2610 actually played on Atari 2600 when he was younger, or even now actually would be fine. That 2600 Plus is really tempting, at least for me. Maybe I'm just crazy. But we got, as I said, War Thunder already. 01 is here. Full scale for me. I wonder what, I'm going to full scale for me if he's into model railroading or full scale railroading. I don't know. That's just my mind wandering on me. Well, thank you so much for being here. So Accretion OS developer here as well. And I see Hip Dad there. So nice to have quite the bunch of people. So feel free to chime in anytime you like. It is an open mic night after all. So if you be so kind of hit that like button and subscribe perhaps. Better yet, you can join the chat. I put a Discord link in there if you are okay with Discord. I know everyone's just like jumping ship. No, not everybody. Some people jumping ship. I just don't care. Eric, do you even care if people are jumping ship anymore? Do you feel like it's like the latest Nickelback? We just got to beat on Discord. I kind of feel like that.
You know, the only reason to jump ship for me is that we've been having trouble with it, honestly. We tried to use it this afternoon for a group of 6 people. And it was just, all of us were getting this 2012 error where the camera wouldn't start. And we had it a little bit last week, I think, here.
We did have it a little bit, yeah.
Yeah, but it was like rampant. Like all of us could only see 2 people out of the 6. And we ended up having to switch to something else because it just literally wasn't working. So it was very, very strange. I don't know. And this is like several weeks in a row now that this has happened. So I'll be curious to see if it happens to us tonight. The error, that 2012 error message is like one of those nebulous Microsoft error messages where it could be a video driver or a network error or a, anything.
It's
the wind blows,
ambiguous.
sunspots.
I like it when it has no message, no error code. It's like, something has happened. Oh, thanks.
That's,
really
this might as well be that. It might as well just literally say, sorry.
Yeah, but the Canadian sorry. And that's
Sorry.
Well,
tough taters.
It's like, well, at least you were polite about it, so I'm not
I'm
gonna
a
get mad.
flexer. I'm a
sorry,
flexer.
So like you mean like Flexbox?
No, I like Fluxer. Alternative to Discord.
Oh, okay.
Hip
Yeah, I
Dad's
haven't really
got
checked any of
mission
them
control.
out. Yeah, he does. He doesn't look like is he watching? We probably took part of the Artemis launch. What it looks like. I could be wrong, but I'm probably not.
Now this is the Artemis launch view.
Oh, okay. Houston, we don't have any problems. That's what I'm on here.
They all splashed down and now they're swimming in the swimming pool.
Oh, good. So, let's see. Also, during the week, you can join our Discord and Telegram. Keep the conversation rolling. I guess, Telegram's on the bad boy list too. I don't know. But also, be sure to do that straw poll. Go to cubiclenate.com/polls. Knock out that straw poll. We'll be talking about that a little bit later on today. And if you want to provide any feedback for the poll, just put it right here in the chat. That's where I'll be checking. But first, what have you been doing in Linux and tech? So I want to just, since I really didn't prepare anything spectacular, but I've been doing some fun Linuxy things. I wanted to talk about, I got some basically retired hardware from work and I was doing the fun thing. I actually forgotten how much fun this was, which is just installing Linux on things. Did any of you ever get that excited about that at all, or is that just me?
Me,
Yeah.
I do.
So
Yeah, no doubt.
so anyway, I had some. So we had a bunch of things on. I think it was on a legal hold essentially, and there was a bunch of stuff that we couldn't reutilize, whatever. And it'd been sitting there for quite a while. All the that stopped, and so we basically it's like, well, I'm gonna reissue the hardware because I don't want to waste anything. Some of the stuff I just can't because of the whole Windows 11 thing, and some things are just kind of a little bit maybe ropey, and it just wasn't a good idea to reissue. And so I had some fun with some Surface tablets. One, I think I get some kind of a sick joy out of putting Linux on a Microsoft design thing. I think that was actually part of the fun of it. So anyway, it was lots of fun. I had a one was a Surface 4, so a little bit older, but it has a 16 gig of RAM, which is I think that's very respectable amount of RAM. I think I don't know how much storage it has. It's not really relevant. I did the Linux kernel. There's a project out there for Linux Surface, I should say. I put that on there. It actually works really well. The pen doesn't work, but I think there's something missing, and I think it's actually an OpenSUSE specific thing that's missing. Like there's some drivers that aren't ported over. I got to see if they were looking for help on that. I don't know what I'm doing, but I would like to get into packaging anyway. So I'm going to try.
I've got a suggestion.
What's that?
Because when I did that for a family member's Surface tablet, I found Fedora actually worked the best, and had all the Surface drivers built into the kernel already. So you might want to try a Fedora distro on it, because to get everything clicking in. But that's just my 2 cents.
Nope. But I appreciate that though. What were you going to say, Mike?
I was just going to say, I was watching your face go blank while he said that.
Yeah, I was like, well, see, the thing is like the fun is doing the part of the Linux install that's fun, and so Fedora is great. I like Fedora. I got Bazite on a couple of things here because I think Fedora's great. But I specifically wanted to shove OpenSUSE tumbleweed on these devices, not just any Linux. I wanted specifically that. And just, what is a process? How well does it, OpenSUSE basically? And it does very well, except for the pen. In fact, the new touchscreen keyboard, which I'm a little disappointed didn't automatically install. Like that part wasn't in there. Not a big deal. Installed the virtual keyboard. That's probably one of the best virtual keyboards I've used now. I know that Dale, you were talking about was it Mallet something? I don't know.
Yeah, Malite keyboard. That was what we had to use because there was no plasma virtual keyboard. Now there is a plasma virtual keyboard, and I expect unless something major changes, I will never use Malite keyboard again.
So what was that last bit?
I very much prefer plasma keyboard to Malite keyboard.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's great.
Okay. Maybe I have to check that again. But what I really, really appreciate, also it's really easy to put Plasma Mobile on there too. That was just a pattern with Tumbleweed. And so I threw Plasma Mobile on there just to see how that went. That actually worked really well too. As far as the interface is really quite slick. So well done on that. But the battery life on these are only about 2 hours because it only charges up to 49%. And I don't know why that is. I checked the BIOS and to both these machines. I don't know if there's some trickery that's going on there that Microsoft detects. They put some kind of a kill switch in there, like a inconvenience switch rather. Like, oh, there's not Microsoft on here. You can't charge a battery. But that doesn't seem likely to me. I don't know.
Oh, it might just be the battery health on it because it's an older device as well.
Could be. But the battery is reporting at like 89% health. So I don't know.
Interesting.
Yeah, so let's see.
It might not be detecting it right either.
I used to have a Surface Go before it became unusable. I ran Mint with the Surface Linux kernel. Well, that's cool. Yeah, it's the same Surface Linux kernel I'm running on there. So Present Arms Linux says maybe shoehorn the Fedora RPMs that deal with the Surface stuff into SUSE. Yeah, maybe. This is Warthog says they might have stuck it in kiosk mode. That could be. I don't know. These are both like dead as a doorknob when I first decided to to mess around with them. So I mean, it could be any number of things really. So I guess I was gonna make this so much about me and the Surface, but has anyone here like had any fun installing Linux on something like a piece of hardware you acquired or whatever?
I like it.
I originally installed MX Linux on the what I call the One Piece computer. It's a Lenovo One Piece that's right behind me there on the far right with the blue keyboard. And I had MX Linux on it, but I recently got converted to CachyOS, and I put it on that one too. I cursed myself when I was bragging about my system being so stable. It was boring, and it took a big dump on me, video artifacting and stuff like that. So I went ahead and Arch Penguin said, you might want to try CachyOS. So I tried it, and I love it.
Trying the different distros on Raspberry Pis. That's a lot of fun because there's more and more distros available for that. Literally every month. So.
Yeah, the Pi is a fun thing to mess with too, like that. What do you got, Penguin?
I was going to say, I want to say about 4 years ago, I had an old 32-bit Toshiba laptop that I installed Gentoo on. It was like a old 1.5 gigahertz Toshiba that was designed for Windows XP. And it took about, I want to say, a day and a half for it to compile the kernel and everything.
You like pain, don't you?
That was pretty fun. I just literally had to set it aside for a day and a half while it compiled everything.
Did you use it to warm your house?
Actually, I think it was in the summer, so it was kind of counterproductive to the air conditioning.
Yes.
But honestly, I don't think that this thing got too hot. Yeah. I don't think it got too hot. I mean, it was only a dual-core Pentium Core 2 Duo or something like that. So, I mean, it didn't get extremely hot.
Gotcha. So War Thunder says, I like to have fun with my Raspberry Pi 5 and distros. I run the regular Raspberry Pi OS for a mini low-power coding station. And now my follow-up question would be to that. Is it like just the Pi and you got a keyboard hooked up to it, or do you have some kind of like a special housing for it or anything fun like that? That'd be my follow-up question. We'll see what he does. What about you, Eric? Have you done any like fun installs of anything in particular? I mean, even it doesn't have to be recent.
I spent so this is pre-SSD days where you'd get just an abysmally slow Windows laptop or machine in general, and you would put Linux on it, and magically it became usable again.
Ah, yes.
And that was always like just so gratifying, like endlessly gratifying. Like I never got tired of doing that. Someone would get sick of a system, they would be really literally ready to throw it away, like in the trash. And I'm like, oh, wait a minute. And yeah, bring it home, put Linux on it. I've donated a bunch of machines over the years, different like charities or labs, hardware labs, stuff like that. And yeah, it's anytime I can save something from going to the landfill, I feel like I've done a good thing. And especially whenever it's a completely functional system that just happens to have, a terrible operating system on it that doesn't work well. And so, yeah, I mean, more than I can possibly count, honestly. Like if I went back through the years, I mean, dozens and dozens. I mean, it's been a recurring thing for me for decades at this point.
I do that with my desktops too. I go through desktops pretty quickly, and I'll reload them with a distro and give them to somebody or donate it to someone who needs it.
I mean, now Linux matters for older hardware like that more than ever because of the strict hardware requirements of 11, where like some computers that were only a year and a half, 2 years old, still can install Windows 11 on it because of all the host requirements, TPM 2.0, and then you had to be on this, had all these other features of the in it. I have a laptop that was pink that's only 2 years old that that was a Windows 10 laptop. No, maybe it's 3 years old, and it couldn't install Windows 11 at all. So,
yeah, there's actually a way to get Windows 11 on there. There's you can use Rufus. You can have it
Rufus.
turn off the flag, and so
I actually tried that.
Yeah,
it didn't work. It wouldn't. It refused to boot after I got it installed. So then apparently, there's something preventing it.
Yeah. So check to make sure you have to have secure boot enabled. If you don't have secure boot enabled, it will not boot.
It was. Yeah, it was. I just got black screen and a big tumbly wheel. We left it for like 2 hours. Yeah.
Because I've installed it on numerous machines now. Like that really were kind of marginal. I would say like they maybe should have been retired, but they were good enough for the purpose they're going to do. So I did a lot of Windows 11 installs on unsupported hardware, and actually my desktop at work is unsupported hardware, but it's a serious powerhouse of a machine. I'm not going to just throw it away. So, and I'm the IT manager, so whatever.
but yeah, I don't know why, because it even had a TPM 2.0 chip and everything, but it just wouldn't. It said it was ineligible, so I tried that and tried the Rufus thing, and yeah, it still wouldn't work. So, but it was only a dual core AMD cheap laptop, so that I got for free from my neighbor just to repurpose.
Yeah. So I got this. War Thunder totally distracted me. He said something about these Geek Pie cases. There's a really cool NES looking one. I don't have it, but I already highly recommend it just because I think it looks cool. But look up Geek Pie.
Yeah, there's literally hundreds of them out.
Yeah.
And if you have a 3D printer, you can print your own.
It's true, and they're not very big either, so that makes it even easier. Well, cool. How about you, Jinda? Have you installed Linux on something that you just thought was a cool piece of hardware, like it was just a fun piece of hardware to install Linux on?
I've done it so many times, I think I've forgotten how many times I've done it. We get so many PCs at work that they throw in the trash that I take home. People give them to me. I did an all-in-one system. One of those, I think it was an HP all-in-one. And I put it outside, and my driveway was said free all-in-one, and it was there for maybe 15 minutes.
Yeah. I kind of wonder, we'll get that discussion later, but look at that. So Dale's got an all-in-one Adele. I have one very similar to that. I got a touchscreen version of that one, probably a little older, a 4th generation.
I've got one too, except it's back there taken apart because it blew its hard drive, so I gotta get a hard drive in it. But I just took that one apart so I can show you it yet.
Yeah, my one piece is the Lenovo. It's basically a laptop slapped in the back of a monitor.
Yeah, that's what that Dell Inspiron one is back there. It's basically a laptop strapped in with a monitor on top of it.
Gotcha. Yeah, I think those are fun. If they're easy to work on, I think they're fun. But like if they're like a Mac, like if we have to take the screen off, yeah, no bueno. I'm not dealing that. I'm not gonna.
I was impressed with that Dell one I have, because I don't have to deal with the screen. The back pops off, and then just the motherboard's right there. It's real easy.
Yeah, it's nice.
Still a lot of screws, but it's still pretty easy for an all-in-one. That's going to become like my emulation station for emulating like game consoles like the PS2 and stuff. I think I'll handle it. It's Core i5, so it should handle it.
Gotcha. So just as an aside, Arch Penguin says that the NES case looks cool, but not cool in temps. So that's unfortunate. Maybe you can put a fan in there. I don't know. I don't remember my NES having a fan. So, but that's unfortunate. But maybe if you put a fan in there, I don't know. It still looks cool. And presenter on Linux, yes, everyone is well. I hope everyone is well and dandy. I'm well and dandy. Can't speak. I'm not gonna put words in other people's mouths. At least
My
dandy.
middle name's Andy.
See, so you're one step from that. Hip dandy, right?
Yep.
No. All right.
Well, it might have been related to Jim Dandy.
He's
the one that went to the rescue.
I have a chicken named Dandy.
He's the one
but
coming to the
Dandy's
rescue,
not.
right?
Yeah.
All right, we're going to move on to the straw poll. It is kind of in line, maybe, sort of. But it is, which is the most common method you use to upgrade the OS of your Linux computer? So you can get, if you want a few moments here to vote on cubiclenate.com/polls. And then I'm going to check that out. All polls. Look at that. Nope, that's the wrong one. Polls.
Gotta get there. Hang on.
All right. I'll wait. I'll wait a little bit. I'll stammer a little bit. I'm good at stammering. So I know this is a fun poll. I don't know who this is all airs whatnot. But so the options were upgrade to the next release version, rolling release, nuke and pave, clean install, immutable image upgrade, other, or Tux Penguin. So a few more moments for a few last minute votes here.
What was the page straw poll or just polls?
Cubiclenate.com/polls.
Polls. Okay.
Yeah, just /polls.
There it is. Okay.
You see, rather than give straw poll the numbers.
Oh, this is a good question. Okay.
Yeah.
So
we have like that.
I mean, it depends on what you're using. So.
What's
It's
the
the
most
same
common
poll
thing?
software that I use.
Yeah. Good call.
I'm a rolling release, so yeah.
Well, then I know what you voted for.
Well,
All right.
see, you know what I voted for too, but at the same time, I also run some point release distros. Like on my mom's, I've got Ubuntu LTS. So in that case, I do the point release upgrade. But the majority of time, I'm doing a rolling release.
Yeah, same here. So I guess let's go ahead and look at the results of the poll here. Do refresh, one more refresh just in case something popped through. All right, we'll look at the results here. And these results will be in the show notes at the end, so you can look at them and be like, yay. So in first place at 41% is upgrade to the next release version. At 32% is rolling release. And then 18% nuke and pave. Clean install. 5% says immutable image upgrade. 5% for Tux Penguin, and 0 for other. I wonder what other might be. I don't upgrade. That would be my other.
Yeah.
The other might be they install something different.
Oh, yeah, that'd be try something new.
Nuke and pave something new.
There weren't any. Well, yeah. There weren't any.
They take the hard drive out. They put it in a different system. They update that and then bring it back. Do you remember? Yeah. Do you remember the first time you took? Do you remember the first time you took a hard drive from a different Linux computer and put it in, or from a Linux computer and put it into a different one, and it worked?
Yes,
I do.
Have you ever tried that with Windows?
Yep.
And it blew my mind. I was like, no way, that actually worked? Like, how does that? And I didn't realize at the time because the kernel has everything built in by and large.
I think Windows 7, you could actually do that and get away with it.
Okay.
Yeah, probably, but I feel like I did it with one window system and it worked, but worked was kind of a sliding scale. So it worked, but kind of like a car works with not all cylinders firing. Just how it felt, but it could also have been a hardware.
Yeah, but if you got an 8-cylinder, it will work with one cylinder missing. If you have a 4-cylinder, the car won't even go.
Yeah, that's true. You can. So I always think it's fun to hear a car go by. I don't think other states are probably a little bit more strict than Michigan is, but when there's someone that drives by that's clearly not running on all cylinders, I'm like, oof, man, that's a rough ride right there.
Well, and where I live, you have people missing bumpers and everything like that. There's no vehicle inspection here either. I mean, as long as the car runs and you don't get pulled over, you're fine. But if you get pulled over with a missing bumper, then they write you a big ticket.
We don't have inspections here either.
Yeah, Florida's the same way.
I'm really glad I don't have to deal with that. But
there's some unbelievably dangerous looking vehicles on the road here, but whatever. Luckily, our time is 7 miles an hour.
We used to have it. They found out it was corrupt.
Oh, well.
And they closed them all down. The whole state was corrupt, not just the county. Whole state.
Yeah, it's like I lived
there for a while.
In New Jersey for
for a while. Somebody was riding around and their windshield was a screen door off of a mobile home strapped across the car.
That is special.
There's a moxie there.
I love it. So I don't know if you guys know this. I think there's 2 states in the country that still require the gas station to pump the gas for you. Like you're not allowed to dispense your own fuel. And New Jersey's one of them.
I think Oregon's the other.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I lived in New Jersey for 10 years, and every time I would travel for work, I would go to a gas station and just sit there like an idiot. Is anyone coming? Oh, that's right. No one's coming. But
New Jersey.
One of those really bizarre like rules, and somehow they have cheaper gas than most places, even though there's labor involved with it. Yeah, it makes no sense to me.
I was just going to say New Jersey. I'm pretty sure when I've driven to the tip of New Jersey once, and I know that this gas station was in New Jersey, you pumped your own gas there. I know it was on not the New York side. I know it was on the New Jersey side of the line. So
unless something changed. I mean, I remember because I had just moved from Pennsylvania where you did pump your own gas, and I got out and the guy was like, "Whoa, what are you doing?" I'm just like, "What? What did I do? You're not allowed."
This was like 10 years ago, more than 10 years ago, because I haven't been up to the Northeast in forever. Because I have people, I live in the Midwest, but I have family still living in the Northeast. So,
gotcha.
There was one time I had to drive to Fort Dix in New Jersey, and I remember I fueled up because you couldn't pump your own gas in New Jersey, and I don't like people touching my car, or me for that matter. So I filled up before I got to New Jersey in Pennsylvania, and then I filled up again when I was on base, because on base you can they run by their own rules, and so I was very adamant about not stopping for fuel in New Jersey because of that rule. So
yeah. The no inspection thing is what reminded me of that. But the poll question is relevant to me right now because I was just going through deciding which distros to install on my systems. I wanted to get something different, a change. And the point release distros, the thing that is always the pressure point or the pain point is upgrading, because there's always this process of, especially if you're running like a 6-month cadence, you're always doing this continuous, like every 6 months, you've got, you don't have to, because there is some amount of support after that. So you can like run for a year or a little bit longer on some of those, but ultimately, they're out of support pretty quickly. And so, like I have an install of Linux Mint that's still 21.3, I guess, but it's supported until I think a couple more years. So I'm just being very lazy about upgrading it because, that's one of those distros that's notoriously, you can't just upgrade it as easily. I think it's gotten better lately, but anyway, suffice to say, the point being that I wanted to use a rolling release to alleviate that. So I'm going back to trying CachyOS because that's the thing to do now, I guess. But yeah, and that was the reason for it more than anything else was I just want to have something that's a sort of continuous release model, where I don't have to worry about that anymore. I thought the other option might have been a atomic release as well, but I couldn't find one that I liked. So anyway, go ahead, Nate. Sorry.
I would say I think Fedora's got a really smooth next version, like next point release. I know OpenSUSE Leap does. It's been pretty smooth. But it's not. If I remember correctly, it wasn't as smooth as I would have liked it to have been. Like last time I did it. But I've been unrolling now for so long. Like I know there's a migration tool. I know to go from 15.6 to 16, which I have not done, and I'm a little worried about it with one of my. Actually, I can just test it and then push it. But so I think I see where you're coming from on that, because like I think about when I deploy, I'm deploying these HMIs now in one of the facilities, and one of them that I have deployed. I haven't done more than that, but I'm thinking because the Windows 10 is at EOL, and I kind of want to run another experiment on it. I'm thinking I might actually move they're like these like stainless steel pedestal computers that are touchscreen and have like these rubber keyboards so you can hose down, they survive. So one of them is actually running OpenSUSE Leap, and all the rest are running Windows 10 right now. And of the 29 machines I have left to do in Texas, do something with in Texas, I should say. I'm thinking I might move those over as long as I can do remote management well enough with it. I think I may actually end up doing that. And then the reason specifically Leap is since I already have a contract with SUSE for other things. If I want to expand the contract out, I have that option now because they will actually support OpenSUSE Leap officially. Like that,
nice.
And so that might be a way to go for some of those things. This way, I don't have to worry about, if I get hit by a milk truck or something, then I don't want, I don't want solutions to be kind of the esoteric edge cases. Oh, this is a really neat idea. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Can you still upgrade from Leap to SLE?
Yes, you can transition over. Yep.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
That's kind of.
I always thought that was a really smart thing for them to do.
Mm-hmm. They're basically the same thing. They just have some community packages bolted on top for Leap, and so they're basically the same thing. So gotcha. because I can't get a KDE workstation of SLE, I'm using Leap because I just like what I like. What can I say?
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's more familiar feeling.
Absolutely.
Sure. Yeah.
You're getting the same benefit, basically. So.
Yeah, this question is becoming extremely relevant to me this time because, next week, I'm an Ubuntu user, and next week is upgrade. Next week in 2 weeks or something like that is upgrade time because I upgrade from LTS to LTS. I don't do the intermediary point releases because I used to, but I got tired of upgrading every 6 to 9 months because those point releases are only supported for 9 months. So I just do it every 2 years if I'm still using the same computer, that is. And I just call it good. Except this time around because 24.04 didn't have game scope on it for some sort of thing. So I had to upgrade the point releases this time if I wanted to use GameScope. So after this upgrade, this computer is staying the way it is for 2 years. So
yeah, I think well, go ahead, Dale. Sorry.
I was just going to say mine upgrades are about 3 times a week. I was just going to make a rolling release joke. That's all. Nothing to see here.
Yeah. So for me, one of the things that I even thought about with those HMIs is because I hate having to deal with upgrades, but having that rolling release that's provided by Tumbleweed would be great. But then I may have to babysit them. Like it's the likelihood of something breaking is extremely low, but I'm also dealing with software that I'm not as well familiar with, like Ignition is the Vision client viewer. What's it called? I can't remember now. Let's see.
Like the assistant.
Vision client launcher. So I don't know.
Vision.
Yeah, it's from Ignition. So it's how they control like the machines and whatnot. And so it's pretty. It seems like it would not be a problem, and installs it all under /opt opt. I don't know, option. Is that what it's called? I have no idea.
Is that a repo install or a Flatpak? What is it?
No, it is a tar.gz from the company itself.
Oh.
So there's actually a fun, not so fun, but there is an article on keepinglate.com for troubleshooting that to working with Leap, because I did want to record what I had to do. So there's like one other library that was required for it. I think and but I mean it's whatever, you just install that one thing. And then you're good to go.
Well, I've got a funny story about Vision. I don't know if it's the same exact Vision, but Vision was used in my high school back when I was in high school. And they used it for monitoring the students' computers and stuff. But the funny thing is, I was in like computer systems classes and all that stuff. And we had access to the admin panel for that class. So we used to go around screwing with the teachers' computers because we could go in there and screw with them. And a lot of times we never got caught because we'd spoof our computer halfway across the building, so they couldn't figure out what. So the network administrators never got us in trouble for that. But yeah, that was pretty funny because when all of a sudden you just show up and all of a sudden they can't use their computer, then all of a sudden you start playing a little flash game on their monitor, and they can't do anything about it.
Naughty.
Hey,
I guess that's
15.
Go to the principal's office now.
What's that?
I said, go to the principal's office now.
Yeah, you should probably you probably need to go ahead and do that.
Yeah.
There, Penguin.
Yeah, exactly. But my friend did something even worse. He hacked into the security camera footage on the thing and started blasting it on the cafeteria screens.
So I think we have when you're saying, Eric, that kind of makes an interesting talk. So that actually was one of the first topics here anyway that I was going to just open mic night it. Maybe you did this on purpose. I don't know. But you're talking about how you don't want to deal with doing upgrades, sort of, or like the process, the arduous process of all the fun of doing the upgrades. Is that what I'm picking up on?
Yeah.
So it's kind of a rolling versus static, I guess, static releases. I mean, there's a case for both of them. And
we also have to keep in mind, and this is what I kind of struggled with a little bit, is the traditional model of, yes, rolling and static or point releases or whatever. But then if you look at immutable or atomic or whatever you want to call it, that is technically like going to be a rolling type thing, just like you're getting, updates on your phone or whatever. Like you don't need to reinstall anything because the image itself is immutable and you're just putting a new image on there. So theoretically, you don't have to reinstall anything. You just have to pull the next image. So that also seemed appealing, and I think it will be at some point. Right now, in looking at what was available, most of it's Fedora based. It just doesn't fit for me right now, but I could see in the future that would be a much more appealing thing. So,
yeah, I think it's pretty close in that regard. Probably for the case that I'm using it, like for HMIs, that probably would be a pretty good choice. I just haven't gone down that road yet. I think the micro where Micro OS Leap or whatever. I don't know what it's called. There's a that would that be? I don't know.
I think
One of the
that's
Micro
what it
OS,
is,
yeah, and one of the Micro OS variants, maybe Kepler, Kapla. Dale, I'll let Dale correct me.
Well, I like the static LGS releases just because I don't like to babysit. I don't have time for that. But if I've got a static release, I know nothing major is going to change for 2 years on my computer. Whereas with a Arch or OpenSUSE kind of doesn't really have this big of a problem. But Arch, unless you're watching that news feed, if you don't, they could change something that you have to prepare your system for, and then your system comes crashing down sometimes. So I don't like to babysit my computers. I just like to just be able to install and let it do its thing without me just updating it once a week for security. That's about it.
You were thinking about Aeon and Kalpa.
Yeah, Kapla. I wish they just changed to Kapla. I think the Klingon thing would be fun.
That's what I thought you were going for there, a little Klingon.
Yeah.
And I'm on the other side of the spectrum where I probably check for updates each time I start my computer, probably about 30 to 40 times before I shut it back down.
Yeah, I get it. So for me, I think my what I did historically, I should say years ago, was I pretty much anything I did I wouldn't touch regularly. I just used Leap, and anything that I would interact with on a fairly regular basis, I would use Tumbleweed. But after like not having update issues with Tumbleweed for so long, now I just use Tumbleweed on pretty much anything that I use because I just don't have to think about it, and it's just
Same.
Yeah, it's almost so reliable that it's the lazier approach.
And it's so reliable. I don't know if you do this, but it's so reliable that I don't worry about keeping it updated. I don't worry about if I update it this week or next month or 6 months from now. I know it's going to work.
Yeah,
curse yourself.
It's kind of
true. Knock on wood. Yeah. Knock on wood.
Don't say that. You might jinx yourself next time. I mean,
I know, but
last week.
I've been saying this now for
it just always works.
Yeah, I've been saying this now for like 6 years. Now, every once in a while, there is like a regression that does happen. So something will happen like the Plasma's power management thing will require me to manually restart it. Not a big deal. Or I think something else there was a kernel regression recently where I had to actually use the older kernel because it would not let me come back from sleep. I think I might be actually on that kernel now that I think about it. Maybe a correction came down to it. I don't know. But let's see. What am I got?
I think I had that. I think I had that too, and it got fixed. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. So that's annoying. But I keep extra kernels installed just in case. I think the transition from AppArmor to SE Linux, I'm still using AppArmor. That was a little bit annoying too. But again, they're all like they're not like nothing comes crashing down. They're just annoyances, I guess. Does that make any sense?
And those annoyances is why I just don't use a rolling release. It's just I don't have to worry about those annoyances because my kernel's just patched for security. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Makes sense.
Well, I'll throw my 2 cents in here.
Yes, you can actually put 3 in if you like.
I actually just run LTS versions because my workstation literally pays my bills. So I cannot afford for it to be down for any time. It is a mission critical piece of equipment for me. Yeah. So I run only LTS versions. I don't run intermittent versions of Ubuntu. I do run, updates on it. No, we're talking about upgrades to new versions, but I do run updates weekly, and I have live packs running on. so it catches all the really bad stuff early on. But matter of fact, I usually wait to the next point release on the LTS, like a 0.1 after that, before I actually upgrade to it. But that is the path I usually take. I let them work the stuff out in the intermittent versions between the LTSs.
So when you go to upgrade, you just do, because Ubuntu's got like a one-click upgrade, right? It's a very easy upgrade path.
It's very easy, yeah.
Yeah. So I like
very simple.
Yeah, they have a very nice upgrade path. I'm not gonna lie. I think they've got that thing down in pretty well.
It used to be atrocious.
Yeah.
It would always fail back in the days.
That's why new computer.
Yeah, but I have a computer. I think it's now my parents' computer, or one of my parents' computer. It's been running Ubuntu LTS for 7 years now, so it's gone through several upgrades, and it's very, very good. A couple things break always, every once in a while during that upgrade passes, but generally it's you uninstall it, you reinstall it, and it's fine after that. But especially like if you have GNOME running, the extensions, to me, if it's running GNOME, always break. Something always breaks on GNOME when you do when you do that upgrade. But
notorious for that.
but that's a GNOME problem. That's more of a GNOME problem than anything else. But me, I don't necessarily do the one click. I just do the command line version in the back end. Just do the sudo dist release upgrade, and then it just goes right through. And generally speaking, for the most part, everything works right afterwards. It's very, very simple, and usually only takes about 30 minutes.
So vice versa, I have my mom's laptop. She's had it for about 10 years, running Ubuntu LTS. I also do the command line update, but running KDE Plasma, not running GNOME extensions. I've never had to do any kind of reinstall, and I'm so far, knock on wood, never had an issue. Been running about 10 years on that LTS, probably closer to 12 years. And about every 2 to 2.5 years, I'll do that LTS upgrade by command line. Never had a failure. They got it down. They really do.
Yeah.
I never thought about doing it by command line back in the day.
I think you bring up a good point, Penguin, about not wanting to have to like babysit things. So I kind of thought about like what you said about that, and I was like, why do I like to do the rolling versus the static? And I think what it is whenever I have done static releases, and if something kind of goes sideways with an update, which it hasn't, but like there's that momentum of past frustrations, I think is more or less my thing. And so I find like incremental changes for me like suits me better than bigger changes with a static release. And I think I like those incremental adjustments, because then it's kind of like I'm the frog in the pot and they're boiling it slowly, you know. You don't notice it. And so I think that's why I like it more or less, because I don't deal well with massive change. I can do like little tweaks. So I think that's just easier for me.
And the snapper rollback being built in makes it that much easier to do the little bite size update. If it breaks, you roll back. There's not really that much of a change.
Right.
Yeah. And also things like time shift also really help you out in things like Arch and other rolling releases, because if something goes wrong, you can just roll it right back. But to me, I don't mind the big change every 2 years, because it only happens every 2 to 5 years for me. So I can handle that. As a matter of fact, I prefer that, because let's just say it changes. The big change that happened not too long ago was GIMP 2 to GIMP 3. it took me a while to get used to GIMP 3 on that. But the thing is, if I get that, I get to choose when I get that upgrade to GIMP 3, or I get to choose when I get that massive upgrade that changes the UI on things. And that way I can plan my life around it and give myself a week before I have to do anything major before that and then I implement that change and give myself that week. So that's what I like about it, is that nothing changes as far as workflow until I go from point release to point release.
Yeah, it's different strokes, different folks. So I'm glad that works for you.
By the way, I wanted to mention too. I don't know anybody's running Ubuntu here. Some people may not know this, but you can actually, if you just sign up for an account on their website, you get 5 tokens for their live update that you can use on your machine. And
five machines.
5 different machines. So these are like early releases, like point security releases. Like if there's if a problem's found with the kernel or a driver or a library, those get pushed out to that first. I mean, it's like the very first thing. And then
you're talking about Ubuntu Pro. Yeah, you're talking about Ubuntu Pro. And what that also does is give you updates to the Ubuntu universe as well. And it also gives you live patch, which live patches the kernel, so you don't have to reboot. It's actually really, really cool. But you have to be on LTS for that to work.
That's right.
You have to be on LTS.
So the live patch is what I'm talking about, though. That is part of the Pro, And it makes it so easy to do those high risk. I mean, they are pushed out immediately. Any high risk vulnerabilities that are found. So, and you don't have to reboot. So.
Yeah, and that's just free. And that's also, that live patch is amazing for servers.
Yeah.
It's amazing for servers because then you don't have to touch that server at all. And you just put it on automatic update and it'll just live patch the server most of the time. So you never have to reboot it or anything.
Yeah. I wanted to mention that because I didn't know, some people may not know about it. So
yeah, that's pretty cool. I think that's offered. I know that SUSE does that. I don't know if it's offered in Leap.
It's offered on Red Hat too. You can get a developer account for Red Hat, and actually, I think that's up to like 20 or 25 machines you can put on that without having to pay. Now, granted, they don't do the professional support on that. You have to self-support that, but you can actually do that on Red Hat as well.
There's someone in the chat that's saying that Ubuntu, they don't understand why they're paywalling security updates. That's not what they're doing. Okay.
No.
They're giving you
just Ubuntu Pro gets it first. That's all it is.
It's it first, yeah.
Well, also, the live patching is a different feature. So.
Yeah.
It's specifically it's not updates that's being paywalled. It's the live patch. So if you're running, the idea is for 0.1 for clarification. So the live patch is a specific feature where you can live patch the kernel. It's actually a fairly old feature in the kernel, but it's not one that's often utilized because it's a little more complicated to I don't want to say exploit, but to utilize it. But it is it's a method to update your system, and then it is able to switch over to the updated system without having to reboot. It's a specialized specialized thing that is just not even needed on the desktop. It's more of a server specific thing, and it won't necessarily. I don't know. I could be wrong on this because I may have misread or misremembered or misunderstood, but I think it doesn't necessarily work with all of your software. It's live patching the kernel specifically. I think that's specifically what it is. So, anyway.
you get the security updates. You get like 5 free tokens put on 5 different machines, and then if you want to live patches, I think it's like $25 a year for the full blown pro.
Yeah.
Which is great for servers, you know.
So, speaking of changes to your computer, I know there was an article. I'm not going to get into the article very much, but basically Ubuntu 26.04, the new folder icons, they underwent a revamp. And so that kind of spurred on, this is actually a news story that I was going to use last week, but I didn't use it. So I'm kind of using it this week just as a kind of more of a topic. But with changes to your desktop, when icons and things or wallpapers, whatever, change, like from doing updates, do you like those changes, or do you kind of like, or does change sometimes cause you discomfort in that regard? Like, do you like new artwork, or do you want things just to look the same?
I like new artwork if it's an improvement, and I know it's subjective and not everybody agrees, but if I like the new look, then I appreciate the new look. But I get irritated when my system updates and the icons move.
I got you.
Me, I actually like it, but then again, before I upgrade, I always save all the old wallpapers to my pictures folder. So in case I don't like it, I can change back. And I always make sure I maintain my old icon themes in case I don't like those either. So I always find a way to make it roll it back if I don't roll back the theming if I don't like the new theming. But honestly, I don't really care. I can change it. I can always change it back if I really don't like it.
So yeah, and on that, like the thing I don't like is so there's nothing against any of the art people at SUSE or anything like that, or OpenSUSE rather, but the artwork they had for quite a while that was kind of like very like technical drawing but like a smattering of technical drawing kind of layered on top of each other. Do you know what I'm talking about, Dale? They just changed it a couple years ago. So I really, because I was a mechanical designer for a long time, I really happened to like I just really liked it. So I've kept that wallpaper, and every time the theme changes, I have a script I run just called wallpaper, and then it changes all the defaults back to the way I want it, like system wide. And then it just makes me happy, so I stick with it. You know, if I find something new I like, I'm okay with that. But like specifically, I'm gonna get into like what I'm thinking of. When we went on Plasma from Oxygen to the Breeze theme, I was not happy about that change. Like, it really irritated me. I like the Oxygen look and everything. What's that?
I was going to comment on that same issue. So yeah, go ahead.
So I was stuck on the Oxygen a little bit longer than probably I should have. So I didn't change that for a while, and then eventually I did, because they made enough changes to the Breeze that it appealed to me more. That was really kind of the extent of it, and so yeah, now I'm using Breeze, and there's some specific things that I liked about Breeze, which is why I changed it over. But I don't know if maybe anybody else had any of those, like, I don't know if it's an old man thing that I just don't like these changes on me, or what. But what about you, Eric? Do you fall into that camp at all, or are you just kind of like you're easygoing?
Yeah, I mean, it depends. It depends on what the system is. If it's something where I expect to be able to just sit down and use it every time and not have to mess around with it, it gets really annoying if things do change unexpectedly. And those are machines where I'd prefer like a static release, because I don't want to have updates constantly in my face, or, you know, things changing. I want it to be sort of a known good. And yeah, so that's true of those. But then, you know, I have fun systems too, where I want things to be like. I want to see GNOME 50. I want to see Plasma 6.6. I want to, you know what I mean? Like I expect things to be different, and it's actually almost disappointing if I upgrade to the latest version of a desktop environment. It's like, okay, it's the same thing. Like, and there's nothing wrong with that if the changes being made are, you know, bug fixes and all the things that need to be done. But you know, I do like seeing some sort of like, this is a dumb word for it, but sizzle, you know, like some kind of like something that's different, something
Sizzle.
that hasn't, like,
I like
you know, that was a product management term. I hated it.
So
It's gotta have sizzle.
So like when, so like in Plasma, I have it set to the lamp, the Mac-y looking Macintosh like, you know, where the window kind of goes and back down the taskbar, things like that has sizzle. You know, magic lamp. That's how.
Or the window, the
explosion
burning window animation.
Yes, that's
there you
great.
go.
Yep, I use Fall Apart.
Yeah, my son uses Fall Apart.
I'm kind of like you, Nate. I wonder if it's just the old man in me, you know, that gets irritated at those things. But I was thinking about this actually not too long ago, and there's two things that really just get to me about this stuff. One is when they add something that gets in your way. Okay, like if you were doing if you were using a feature on a regular basis on the desktop that took 3 steps, and now with this new feature in there it takes 5, that's annoying. Okay, and the other one is when they take something away that's in your workflow. That's
I agree.
the other thing.
That's the thing that's the killer right there.
The two things that really get me. Everything else, it really doesn't matter that much to me. But those two things really kind of get me.
Well,
yeah.
On the Plasma thing, real quick, I seen an article where the developer for Oxygen is working on getting it compatible with current Plasma. They're working diligently to get it acceptable to where it doesn't cause issues like it has been. Now, on that note, handy icons, don't use them. It will freeze your computer. And there's where I think that any kind of theme packs or whatever that you get on the interwebs, there should be some kind of certification for Plasma to where if it doesn't work properly, it's not allowed. You just don't even try. But it's a pipe dream.
Yeah, that'd be a hard thing to implement because all these marketplaces are just decentralized. I mean, the ping store is decentralized, all this stuff. You'd have to have a whole entire paid moderation team to go through these and make sure they work. And that would be a huge undertaking. Yeah. Unfortunately, open source, it's a double-edged sword. I mean, it's good because you see the source and all that stuff. It's bad because you have either bad actors or just things that just don't work because no one's moderating it. So
I scared Nate off.
I guess we did.
He gets scared easy, you know. So.
Okay.
Sorry, no, he had to go pick up his kid. So we are on our own. The
okay.
kids are ruling the classroom for 15 minutes, guys. So
yeah,
let's make it count.
Happy no Nate.
Come on,
Anarchy.
one word.
The show is now ours.
So
right, let's do it.
I guess you're the highest ranking member here.
Well, he did, yeah, he was telling me to check Telegram because I was I did a little like I forget what I used to call it, where I would distro hop right before I needed the computer for something. It's like high pressure distro hopping or something. or something. So I decided to do that tonight, and I got Cachie set up on this. I have a Dell Latitude. It's basically like a glorified Surface Pro ripoff. It's a great machine. I really love it, and it's like a repairable Surface Pro, I guess is the best way to say it. 8th gen. It's. I got it for $140 off of eBay, so I can't complain. Great screen.
Okay.
Anyway, so yeah, I put Cachie on it. And I was sitting there trying to get stuff set up while I'm on Discord, and Discord decided to eat about 40% of my system, and then I had to crash out, and yeah. So anyway, yeah, I wasn't getting his messages, but yeah, he was asking me if I could like kind of keep us going, but we never seem to have a problem talking, so it's like
no, we
I was
don't.
like, sure.
But that's the thing. That's the thing about Discord is I believe it's an Electron app, isn't it? Well, something in Electron runs on Discord, so it's a RAM hog. It definitely is a RAM hog.
Yeah, I think so yeah, absolutely. So it was using like a gig of RAM, of course, because why not? And it was also using 40% of my CPU, because of course it was. And I think a lot of it has to do with the hardware rendering. This has a UHD, Intel UHD graphics, processor. So
it's an older one.
So yeah. And I just think maybe it wasn't like it has graphics, like hardware and acceleration turned on by default, but for whatever reason, I think it's just like not working quite well, quite right. I think maybe it's just because I don't have Cachie set up right yet, which is, to be fair, again, I just literally installed it 15 minutes before I started the stream.
How is Cachie OS? I've been curious, but I haven't tried it yet. And it's in the Arch family, so I mean.
Yeah, did you ever try Endeavor or something like that?
I did.
Yeah. So it's kind of like that, where so Endeavor is like mainline Arch, and then there's like some of their helper apps that are kind of make it a little bit, So first of all, you have a Calamari's installer, so that's just a straightforward way to get Arch up and running. It's just easier. And then after that, you've got some utilities to just help you manage the system, rank mirrors and just all that basic sort of stuff that you do on an Arch system. And so Cachie's has all that aspect to it, but then their big draw is that they have all of the like kernel. Optimized. Yeah. So that, and it it's not nothing. I mean, I definitely see a little bit of a difference, but it's
that's what interests me. The kernel is what interests me on Cachie OS, is the optimizations, especially for people like saying it improves gaming performance. That's what I'm thinking about putting on my emulation rig, is Cachie OS, because it's not doing anything important other than hosting that stuff. So, but I'm trying to think. I've been curious to try it out.
Yeah, I've been on it for about maybe a month now, and I would say if Endeavor and Arco Linux had a baby, it would be Cachie OS.
Okay. All right.
I think it speaks a lot to how quickly they've gained and they've been around for a little while. It's not like they just came out of nowhere. I mean, they've had a distro for a while, but they've really gained popularity. And I think a lot of that has to do with Arch being, used a lot for gaming, and because they have, the kernel and some of the optimizations and stuff, like that's sort of a natural fit, So yeah, and I think that's got them some traction. Like, and if you use DistroWatch as any kind of a measure for anything, then I mean they're way up at the top now, pretty much for Arch-based distros. So, and they their tool sets are nice. The community's pretty nice if you go check out the forum and stuff. And yeah, I mean it's really solid. It does have, to me, it feels a lot like Endeavor in terms of like, it's just a distro that has its fans, and it definitely has the utility of being pretty easy to use, but also in this case, more sort of focused on performance, and yeah, and it's different enough that I put it's like, so a couple of things that it does that I really like is it's using Btrfs for the root drive, and every time you run an update or install something, it's creating a snapshot, which I love whenever that's built into Pacman.
Okay, so it's so they're probably using something like Timeshift to do that.
No, it's using, I think it's called like Snappy or Snapper or something like that, where it's just part of the Pacman.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, is that on
the Pacman
Btrfs?
routine.
Is that Btrfs? Is that what you're using?
Btrfs.
Yeah, I'm on Extension 4. So.
Tumbleweed has the same exact thing. Btrfs with snapper rollback. Every time you do anything zipper, it automatically makes a snapshot.
Yeah.
Well, that's a good thing in a rolling release.
So you, if something happens, you boot, and then in your boot menu, the snapshots are just listed there, and you can literally see, and it does a pretty good job of notating like what was done. You know, this was an upgrade or an update or whatever, and then it'll show at least some amount of the packages that were updated. So it's pretty user friendly, and I haven't tried it on this install, but I have in the past used it, and it is really sweet to just like, you know, oh, this is messed up, I don't know what I did, go back and boot from the last one, and it's like...
It is extremely fast.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Well, I'm going to have to take a look at that, because I'm kind of an old bear. I've never used Btrfs. I always use ext4, but that's just
me too. But the reason being that if you, in a lot of cases, if you want to use Btrfs, like even if the installer offers it, in a lot of cases, all the extra stuff, like I just mentioned with the snapshots and all that, and having them listed in the grub boot, and like that just isn't automatically there. You have to do some work to kind of get it there. And so for Cashy to just have it be the default out of the box experience, I think is really slick. So I appreciate that. And that's one of the things. And, you know, trying to think, they have a couple other pretty like just nice things, you know, just it makes, especially if you've used Linux long enough, if you've used Arch, if you kind of, if you get tired of doing the things yourself, because that's one of the sort of tried and true Arch, you know, things is that if you install something that's a service, you have to then enable and start the service because it's not going to do it for you and that kind of stuff. So there's just some niceties in, and I'm not saying I don't think it does that for you. That was probably the worst example I could give, but it just does a lot of the heavy lifting for you to get you, like, put you down in a place where you're ready to just pick up. And I have always loved the live installers where you give me 20 different options for desktops and window managers. And it's like, you know, that one ISO, instead of having to, like, you know, Fedora, if you want to install a different spin or something, you've literally got to download, you know, if you want to try them all, like 10 different ones. So, so the utility of having it be an online, you know, installer, where it's going to go pull down the files. So
since I'm an update junkie, the Cashy package installer is basically a ripoff of the MX Linux installer. The Cashy updater icon, it's real nice where you just click it and it checks to see if there's any updates. And the other thing I like about it is when it's done, if system services need to be restarted, you get a choice to say 0 to restart all services, or whatever service you want to restart. It also will recommend a reboot if you need it. Then the other thing I fell in love with is Shelly. It's a different style of package installer updater, but it's got a nice interface. Now it has a couple little glitches here and there where the installer sometimes just the interface doesn't work properly.
Do you find yourself using mostly native packages, or are you still using Flatpak and stuff like that?
I do Flatpak and native, but most of the normal programs I had in vanilla Arch Linux that were in the Flatpak are now native. Like OBS,
and I
did the native. Yeah.
I still like Flatpak when there's an option for that, especially like the officially maintained one, it just feels cleaner in a lot of ways. And also, if you get something like Audacity or some of the other, where they can bundle like extensions or add-ons and stuff, a lot of times in Flatpak they'll do that. So if you were to install just the vanilla package on the distro, you're not getting all of the, those extra bits and bobs. Like, whereas Audacity is a great example. You install the Flatpak and you've got all of the filters and, the add-ons and all that stuff. And so it's like a complete package versus needing to install the base and then do all that extra stuff. I'm sure some people prefer it.
Yeah.
Hmm?
That's because someone put in the work to compile all that for you.
Sure.
I believe the snap is the same way. It's got all that stuff in there too. But
Gotcha.
Because I use the snap, and I don't think I installed those filters myself. I think that came with it because I'm a snap guy. But then again, I use Ubuntu, so that makes sense.
Right.
So,
have you noticed any issues with out of date? I mean, that was something that what's his name, Popey was talking about at least, like, I guess about 6 months ago or something, where there was just a lot of snaps that seemed to be unmaintained. He had done a lot of them himself, had created the snaps, and then hoped that other people would maintain them. And
it depends on which one you get. If you get the official, if you're getting one that's officially maintained, either by, say, snap crafters, they're typically good at maintaining their snaps and keeping them updated. Basically, it depends on who's maintaining them. If it's some random Joe Blow that just decided to develop a snap and pull it right out of his rear end, and generally those don't get maintained very well. But if it's, say, Ubuntu Snap or Canonical Snap or even Popey, he's pretty good at maintaining his snaps. Snap crafters, if you're getting them from those or the official developer that actually develops the app, they're actually excellent at maintaining the app. But yes, there are lots and lots of snaps that fall by the wayside, and some of them don't do their updates properly, and some of them will update the Edge one instead of start rolling back it and backporting the stable, and then once they reach a stable version on the Edge, they never backport it to the stable version. So you got to watch that too. But generally speaking, I look for that little check mark. If it doesn't have the check mark, I typically don't install it.
Yeah, I've started doing that too, paying attention to it. I've been using Bazaar for Flatpak. I don't know if anybody's have used that. It's a like a app store that's dedicated to Flatpak. And Warehouse. It's actually so Warehouse is great too, but Bazaar is kind of like a traditional, like, here's all the stuff and here's featured stuff and all that, and it has some nice stuff built in. It was a little rough at first, but they've really picked it up. I mean, it's gotten way better recently, and I've kind of gotten really used to using it now, where it's like I don't really care about the update functionality. I do like to be able to see what's installed. Yeah, and I like having these tools. You're right, like Warehouse, Flat Seal, Bazaar. And that's it's between all those things you can really manage Flatpaks very well, especially stuff like removing them and getting rid of like old data that that's left behind and stuff like that. Because if you do it just through the command line, you're not usually cleaning that stuff up. Whereas if you use Warehouse or Bazaar does it too, it'll ask if you want.
Well, yeah, Warehouse gives you the choice to take out the configs and the trash and everything. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Trash it, I don't know how well it does. Yeah, but I still have folders when I look in the VAR folder.
Flatpak, in terms of like a ecosystem, an app ecosystem, has really matured quite well in the last several years. I mean, it's just maintained traction. I think a lot of it is the immutable stuff where it's sort of the basis, and then you have GNOME. as a desktop environment where they're relying on it to distribute their apps. So there's just a lot of sort of support and push behind it. And if they do end up adding stuff like, so they added the verified developers, the check marks, which I like. If they can do paid apps or donation apps, kind of like Elementary had done or has done, but then on like a full, global flat pack scale, I think that would be pretty cool to be able to do that as well. Maybe get some people a little extra money. I actually just finally ponied up for some things, some of the extensions that I use on GNOME, which I've used for years, and finally just sort of thought, I wonder if there's a way to give these people some money. And so I went Just Perfection's one that lets you like tweak a lot of stuff, and then the clipboard, forget what it's called, but there's a clipboard manager that's built in. It's an extension as well. And anyway, so I was feeling generous and threw some money around. I mean, talking like $30, like woo! But I feel like everything makes a difference, right?
I'm sure, really, $5, $10. That's pretty huge for someone creating open source software. Really,
I think it's more like motivation. It's less about, oh, I'm going to make money. It's more about somebody appreciates what I'm doing enough to throw actual money behind it.
Yep.
So
for sure. So I was going to ask
support.
you, because I was listening as you said, I took off. Yeah, I did take off. I love my children, but they're definitely not children of the 80s or 90s when it comes to being self-sufficient.
Yeah, not anymore. I know.
But I was going to say the tablet, the Surface, that's the better Surface than the Surface that you have. How much RAM does it have?
Yeah, 16 gigs.
Okay, that's plenty, I would think. And that's what generation Intel was it? Eighth gen. Oh wow,
so it's 15 watt. Yeah, TDP.
Probably something U processor.
Yeah, they're nice. Let me see. I'll get the specs for it. But yeah, it's I saw it on eBay. No joke. It was a recondition, so they must have been put into service. Some enterprise supply company, IT company, third party, put them in service at some company somewhere, and then 5 years later pull them back out and recondition them and then resell them on eBay. And so that's what they had done. And yeah, I mean, I don't even think it was an auction. I think the buy it now price was like 140. And I mean, the use I've gotten out of it is incredible, all things considered. And yeah, it's a really nice piece of equipment. What I really wanted to do, it's the Dell Latitude 5290. It's a 2-in-1 8th gen i5 8350U. It's a 15 watt TDP, 16 gigs of DDR3, 2133 megahertz, M.2 512 gig PCIe, NVMe, 12.3 inch touch, 3:2 ratio, 1920 by 1280, and then I did get the pen for it. So I've also got an art pen for it. It's like at $20 for the Dell, for the art pen, which is nice.
Do you have to do anything special to be able to utilize that? Or does it just work?
It has a quadruple A battery in the tube, and then for Bluetooth, which Bluetooth doesn't really work on Linux. Bluetooth is more or less a Windows kind of thing. There are these like two little button batteries, like hearing aid batteries but I mean, you don't really need them. You really only need the quadruple A battery to be functional. And like I use it on GNOME because it has Wacom pad support.
Is it Wacom or Wacom?
Like, whack them down. Yeah, and it actually does even know the model number, which I'm not exactly sure how it does that because it's not connected by a Bluetooth. So there's some kind of like a I'm not sure like how that works. I've never really looked it up to see how pens work with screens, but yeah, if you go in there to the settings panel and look at the Wacom panel and then use the pen, it'll pop up another little section at the bottom and show you the pen, and you can remap there's little buttons on the barrel. You can remap what they do.
Are you on System D?
That's cool.
Yeah, I assume so. Yeah.
Well, in order to get Bluetooth to work, especially in Arch, I believe, or KDE or whatever, you have to make sure you enable Bluetooth in system CTL.
Okay.
Has to start when you start
Yeah.
the computer, otherwise it won't work.
Got it.
Yeah, you got to have the Bluetooth.
The
Bluetooth
only so
service
even under
enabled.
Windows, even under Windows, the only thing Bluetooth does is that there's a button on the top which you can map to something. But you don't even because you don't need it to be paired with Bluetooth to do all the other stuff like the pen menus and like all that stuff just works if the quadruple A battery is working. The Bluetooth is really pretty superfluous. I guess if you really care, that one shortcut that can be mapped to something. I mean, whoop-de-doo. That's almost not worth buying the button batteries for it, So, but yeah, no, I mean, and the really cool thing about this system so what I wanted and what I've always wanted is a Linux tablet, right? And it was just sort of like a pipe dream. Oh, how do you get a Linux tablet? I didn't want to buy a Surface because the repairability is just ridiculous on those things. And frankly, for what they cost, like the same generation so processors and all the stuff that I just read off for this one in a Surface Pro would still be $400 or something like that. Like way more expensive than this one was. And this has the same chassis, like the same flip out kickstand, the pull off keyboard case, keyboard cover, lighted, backlit keys. Decent sized touchpad, works pretty well, and it's actually pretty nice to type on. Like the board that's in it is heavy duty enough that it doesn't flex a lot, and I find myself like really enjoying typing on this thing for some reason. I mean, the keys obviously are like very very little throw on them, but I don't know. It's silly how much I enjoy this like cheapo piece of hardware, So,
it sounds like a
and
great piece of hardware. Yeah.
Well, and because it's Dell, everything works on it. Like the only thing, well, actually, the only thing that doesn't work is the built-in webcam, but it does have an IR cam for Windows Hello, which there's a open source version called Howdy, which I think is funny as a rip like hello howdy.
Yeah.
But you can set it up to trigger whenever there's like a sudo request. So if sudo comes up and wants like it can use the IR camera and like do the face recognition in Linux, which is pretty neat.
Yeah, that is neat.
So
oh wow.
Yeah, it's a pretty robust
the
little.
webcam doesn't work in it?
It's got an IR cam. Infrared.
Oh, it's just an IR cam. It's not a webcam. Okay.
It's got both, but the webcam doesn't work, funny enough.
So
but
is it
the IR cam
weird.
does?
Is it the IPU camera?
That's a good question. I honestly, let me see.
So War Thunder brought that up. He says that he's got the IPU cameras are notoriously terrible in Linux. Some have been made to work via Surface Linux, others not so much. So I just looked at the GitHub on Surface Linux because I've been on there a lot this week for that. But apparently, it's hit and miss for some people, and so I guess I don't really know. But but it's not well supported at this point. The IPU camera.
That's a good point. Yeah, I'm just glad that I have my little 1080p Logitech camera IPU. Those always work.
I didn't remember this, but it does have a forward face, like a point and shoot kind of camera. Yep. A camera pointing backwards at the user, and then the IR cam. So it's got a whole like array of them.
I wonder why it's something like a camera is so hard to upstream in the kernel.
It's just how many people had this specific machine. Did if a Linux dev or someone who's proficient with driver, that kind of stuff, like it has to have the right person using it, and I just don't know. Yeah. I don't think they sold a lot of these Latitudes like to just random people. I think they were sort of an enterprise type machine, and you know.
Oh, it's a Latitude. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So
I have old Latitude right here. As a matter of fact, I've got it right here. But everything works in it, but it's not a tablet.
yeah, and that's what is pretty cool. Not, of course, the battery in this isn't like brand new, so it's not. You don't get like a super long runtime off of it, but you can get about 3 hours, which that's reasonable.
Well, it
if you're
being a
just gonna-
Latitude, you probably can get a replacement for it.
you can, but it's almost as much as I paid for it to get a new battery. So it's like
It depends on how much you want to, how much you really want that battery. But yeah, I love Latitudes. If I go on eBay to buy a new laptop, it's always going to be something like a Latitude because I love working on them. And generally speaking, Dell's work with Linux pretty much out of the box.
Yeah. I've never had a Dell that didn't work. My XPS, which I've never used Windows, like I've booted into it a few times, but the only thing on that doesn't work is the fingerprint reader, which is built into the power button. That was a thing they did for a while. And anything like that's like specialized equipment, it's just, again, nobody's going to build a driver for that because what's the point? You're going to have.
You might want to check again on that one because like I've used the fingerprint driver on Tumbleweed with Plasma on both Lenovo and my framework. And actually, not to tell you how lazy I am, but I kind of like just being able to go boop and then I'm logged in.
Well, fingerprint readers are hit and miss. Like it all depends on the hardware vendor and how open they are about that particular thing. Because fingerprint readers, a lot of times they like to lock down that code because it is such a security-centric device. They don't want to give anybody the hardware specs to be able to even write an open source driver for them. So it all depends on the vendor that created that particular piece of hardware, because they just don't want people to be able to exploit those. So it kind of makes sense, but it kind of sucks as well.
Well, a driver is just a driver. So anyway, but my understanding is like with Framework, it actually stores the fingerprint data inside the module itself. I don't know if that's universal for all of them, but the module is actually what holds onto that data. It doesn't actually go to the operating system. Which that whole system, if you want to go down a rabbit hole of where you're really like, it's actually very interesting how it works on computers and whatnot. But speaking of hardware and requirements and everything, you got a 16 gigabyte RAM on your machine, and I guess you're having some issues with it. Could have just been Discord just being snotty. But have you noticed the on some Linux distributions that the memory requirements have gone up significantly? So, for instance, Ubuntu 26.04 LTS version minimum system requirement is 6 gigabytes of RAM. I haven't noticed anything on the like on the OpenSUSE side of things necessarily between Leap or Tumbleweed, just that 64-bit and I think V4, V3 or later, something like that for Leap. But have you noticed anything like, or been bothered by any of that?
If I had a machine, so a couple of things. One is I do a lot of testing in virtual machines, and that's really where you can, if you're only giving them 4 gigs of memory, which is what I usually give them. On a machine with 16, I'm giving the machine 8 sort of to stay stable. Firefox was using 10 gigabytes of RAM the other day. And yeah, I know I have tabs open, but I mean, come on. 10 gigs of system RAM for a freaking browser. So anyway, like that's a huge problem there, is like you can technically boot a distro in, let's say, 2 gigs of RAM, but good luck doing anything. I mean, yeah, the system will run, but like as soon as you start using applications, and not all of them, I mean, of course, browsers are an outlier because they are probably the single greatest, memory hogs in terms of like general use applications. But virtual machines obviously being the other one, virtualization. But yeah, like I agree with you. And but see, this is what happens with everything. It's like that goldfish principle. If the developers don't have to optimize because the majority of the hardware they're supporting has enough resources, then they can be lazy about it. And I don't mean this in like a derogatory way. Lazy isn't necessarily bad. Lazy means you don't have to put in extra work that you can then be putting into something else. But it also means that you're not getting the most optimized experience possible. I think phones are a good example of that, where even if you keep a phone for a long time and the phone still works, a lot of times you'll start noticing that apps require an extraordinary amount of storage. And so if you have a phone right now with 32 gigs, like that's barely adequate to run, right? That's like the main system and then maybe a handful of apps, right? And then you jump up to 64, which is, more usable, but you still like, you can't have like just limitless apps. So, I mean, you don't need 512 or so. I think 128 is probably like the sweet spot, maybe 256 if you're feeling generous. But, computers are kind of the same way. That's the new Mac laptop and I know it's meant to be a replacement for or an alternative to like a Chromebook, but it only has 8 gigs. And I thought to myself, like, is that going to be a practical issue, like a actual problem for people? And I wonder, obviously, it comes down to expectation and then use case. Like, if you're just using a browser or you're doing like really basic stuff for productivity work, then yeah, 8 gigs is probably enough, especially, macOS does a pretty good job of like being kind of frugal with memory. But yeah, like on a PC, like 8 gigs is barely adequate. If you're running Windows 11, I know that they say you can run it in 4 and maybe even less, but I'm pretty sure it's 4. But again, the same situation. Once it's up and running, and then you've got a browser running, and your Discord in the background or Telegram or whatever you're using, and then a couple other things open, like you're pushing very close to the edge of that amount of memory you have. But so that was a very extremely long-winded answer to your question of, yes, I do think that in general, not only distributions, but just software in general has a tendency to use as much as it's able to, to a point where it can be detrimental.
Yeah. Also, you were looking at Ubuntu LTS, right, Nate?
Yes.
I can also tell you why it requires 6 gigs of RAM. It's because the mainline production of the mainline LTS is based on GNOME, and GNOME is known for using a lot of RAM right off the gate. So it's mainly because of GNOME that they're asking to do that. And someone in the chat actually was pointing out the 6 gigs also might be just to run the ISO and all the services that the ISO loads in by default, because it's loading everything into memory when you load that ISO up, and because it's loading the full version. So yeah, and Eric was also talking about app optimization. That's something that I don't know if you've seen the latest video from Mike's Garage. He was actually talking about that. What? Dave's Garage. Why did I say Mike? Yeah, Dave's Garage. Yeah, and he was actually talking about app optimization. He said some of the stuff that they do, like you need like a framework to run a framework. And I'm like, and then all that stuff's being loaded into RAM and stuff like that. And Yeah, it's apps get pretty bloated because of you got this runtime and this thing and all that's loading into RAM and uh, yeah, it's like they've gotten lazy and they just don't optimize their apps anymore. But it's one of those things. It's got to be a balance of optimizing because, like, if you get 5 Chrome tabs open, you're using like 2 or 3 gigs of your memory. I've noticed now, and I'm just like, whoa.
So real quick, the comment by 01 was it was a joke saying RAM requirements are racing the ISO file sizes because like a lot of the ISOs have gotten a lot bigger. That's what that was. But the Frank Zappa, is that the other guy? Yeah. Dave's Garage is, I think if you've seen he has like this attic, Dave's attic. He has a Dave's attic thing as well. It's pretty good. But anyway, yeah, he talks about that, and it's the layers of abstraction to get to the final result, and then the fact that I think the issue that he kind of made was there's no incentive right now for more efficient code, but rather kicking things out or getting projects done faster. So I was going to parlay this into another thought. So we know although I think there's been some relief here already, but the memory prices as they are, it sounds like there might be some potential for incentive for application developers to create more efficient code. And maybe there's some positives. That's a silver lining. Is that some hopium that I'm clinging on to, Eric? Do you think that I'm being a little bit naive and like sunshine lollipops?
No. I don't think necessarily, at least not to a huge degree. I mean, I think there's the hopium is not completely without merit.
Yeah, I don't go full on into what was it, Leslie Gore and her sunshine lollipops, rainbows, and how's that song go? Anyway, but the it seems like because Jinder doesn't. He's actually singing.
Jinder like that.
Mm-hmm. No, I think about the song a lot. So I was just thinking like how in the 80s and 90s, software developers, and Dave actually, in Dave's Garage, Dave Plummer, he did bring this up, but there's a lot of with the constraints that existed at the time, forced you to be a better programmer and to really examine your code and make it more efficient. I know a lot of people who do a lot of retro game design on very limited systems, like the Commodore 64, Apple II series, and so forth. They have to be really deliberate about what features they put in and don't put in, and then also how to optimize their code as much as possible. Now they're targeting a very limited platform, which has its own not hindrances, but its own encumberments, I guess you could say. So I think like I get the point of abstraction layers. Like if you build a Qt app, you don't have to design all your icons. You just use the Qt things. But then the other problem is because they're so rapidly building these things, they're just pulling in all the dependencies, and so it's making the applications take up more memory as it launches because it's pulling in all these dependencies that are unnecessary. And so me personally, I'm just kind of wondering, if it's bothered anybody or if anyone's but noticed it. I mean, I don't know. I have 64 gig of RAM on my laptop, so I don't even think or look at my RAM usage anymore. And well, actually, what is it right now?
Yeah,
free.
And even at 32, I mean, I don't, unless again, like I can run 2 virtual machines at 4 gigs each, and then have 8 left from my system, and that's comfortable. I don't need to run 2 at a time usually. It's because I'm like comparing or doing something special. Right. And if I have to, I can crank it down to use less if necessary. But anyway, like for most things I do, again, outside of using a browser, because that is still the single browsers and virtual machines. But day to day, outside of that, I mean, I mean, 16 is comfortable. So, I mean, I think 8 would still be a challenge at times. Like, I would notice having 8 versus, like you're saying, you don't even think about it. So, I think 16 is in that territory of, unless you're doing things that require a lot of memory, like if you're just using day-to-day computing task type stuff and software, 16 is sort of comfortable. 32, yeah, you're starting to get into like just do whatever you want. You're not going to have any issues. Like, so, I mean, if you were, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, 8 is not that uncomfortable because right now I'm running 8 on this computer. This is what I do all my stuff on. But then again, I'm using Sway, which is a window manager, which drastically reduces my RAM footprint. So I've done some things where it's a little bit more comfortable, but this is going to be upgraded to 16 because I've got the kit over on my nightstand over there. I just haven't put it in yet because I've been lazy. But still, 8 is doable in Linux, very doable, especially if you're using something like a basic window manager or Ubuntu. Ubuntu works fine. It works great with 8 gigabytes. So it all depends on what you're doing and what you do to your system.
I'll throw in some real numbers for you here. You know, all this comes down to a trade-off. Okay, so everybody wants to run flat packs and snaps. You're absolutely eating up tons of memory doing that. Okay.
Storage. You mean storage or RAM?
RAM.
Really?
Okay. Oh yeah. I can tell you that my MarkLight app ran as a Debian package. With all the libraries loading and everything, takes about 160 meg of RAM space to run it. Okay. The Snap, which I'm sure would be the same for the flat pack or close to it, 1.7 gig.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And I can tell you,
it loads.
Yeah, because snaps are containerized. So when you load that snap, it also loads that dependency pack, and then it's loading the whole thing. It's not just loading what it needs; it's loading the whole thing into your RAM. So that's just the way Snap works. And you're absolutely right. If you're using a Snap, it's going to be a lot more RAM heavy.
Flat packs are the same way. So it's pretty easy to do. You can just pull up HTOP and load 2 different versions of the same app, the flat pack native one, and see the difference. I mean, that goes toward that. You know, everybody likes to use those, and so I think that also goes toward that raising the limit on minimal amount of RAM. So.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't disagree. And I think that again comes down to the trade-off. One of the things, the reason I asked HipDad about using flat packs on Arch is because so many of the packages that you would, let's say on a Debian system, be using Flatpak for, because the stuff's not in the repository and maybe there's not a deb file and maybe you don't want to install a deb, or you don't want to, if it's Ubuntu, you don't want to deal with a PPA or whatever. The utility of Flatpak at the cost of a little extra memory is kind of...
It's not a little. It's not a little. It's like 5 to 10x. Because you're also having to run that virtual
No, it's not.
Yes, sir. I'm sitting here looking at the number right here in front of me.
It cannot be 10 times the amount of a deb package. If a deb package is using 50, it's using 500.
Listen, 160 meg for the Debian, 1.703 meg for the Snap.
What application is this?
It's my application, the one I developed.
Yeah,
they're all that way though.
Okay, and I would have to do some serious testing, because trust me, there would be people like that. It would be untenable if it was 10x.
Well, it all depends.
I'm not disagreeing that you're seeing that result. I'm just saying that I do not think that's typical. Just as a first blush, like.
Look, I work with these all the time. I'm telling you, it's typical.
Okay. All right.
I think for the smaller applications, it is 10 times as much because you have to run. You know what I mean? For a bigger application, it can't be. Is that what you guys are referring to?
Yeah.
But it's using the same libraries, whether they're installed on the machine or whether they're in a flat pack. It's going to be using.
Forgetting about is the virtual computer that has to run, and all the dependencies it has to run that app in that container.
Okay. Well, Eric, it goes back to what I said. When you go into a snap, okay, it's all containerized. When you've got a snap, that app is in one container, and then they're using a container of different dependencies for that snap. So when you load up that thing, and let's just say it requires the GTK dependency pack, it's not just loading that one library they're using for that, it's loading that entire container into your RAM. So it can use that. So it's going to use a lot more RAM because it's loading not just one library into it, it's loading, say, 100 different libraries right in there so it can use that one library because that's just the way Snap works. Whereas the native package, it'll just say, oh, I need just these two libraries here, so that's what I'm going to load in there so I can run. And so, yes, I can see that some of the smaller applications do use about five times on average, maybe even 10. But it definitely uses double the amount of RAM for some of these as well. It all depends on what dependency packs it needs.
So like when let's say if you write a Plasma or let's say a GNOME application, right? So you have the GNOME dependencies that have to be loaded in because those are for the Flatpak application. It brings up those things. So I think your application that you run is probably not taking up any more resources, but because it has to pull up basically a kind of virtual machine of sorts, a runtime in parallel with your host system, there's probably some penalties there. But if you loaded up another Flatpak application, it wouldn't be as much because you already have those core runtimes operating. Does that make any sense? You see what I'm getting at with this?
Yeah, what happens
that's correct.
Like on my app, it has to load all the GTK libraries into the Snap or into the Flatpak. So that way it can run wherever it needs to be. And those get loaded regardless. It doesn't use the ones from the system. It uses the ones that you include in the container.
Right. So that might be what's going on. So, and I don't know. Yeah.
I'm not saying that that's a bad thing. I'm just saying that has to be taken into consideration because that type of packaging is very popular now. And so
especially when Ubuntu is packaging things like your web browser that they're putting in there, your email applications and stuff like that now. Those are all snaps. They're not being packaged as native packages now. They're being packaged as snaps. So yeah, you're going to require. So yeah, Snap is virtually a requirement to run Ubuntu these days because a lot of those apps that they have to update all the time, those are just being packaged as snaps.
Right.
So we are actually out of time. I lost track of time again, which I seem to do a lot. Thank you for that. I had a few other topics I want to get to about firmware, but we can kick that off till next week. I might throw it in the show notes just for funsies, but just as an uncovered topic here. But next week we're gonna do an application appetizer. I thought about like doing like a theme, kind of a theme night. You tell me what you think about this. It's just an idea, but what applications do you have that run better as a system app or as a containerized, so Flatpak or Snap app, and the other way around? Like if you have maybe an example or two. Does that sound like a doable thing, or does that sound like a really bad, tedious idea?
It's a good idea.
I'm sorry.
Sounds good.
Well,
Can you repeat that again? Because I didn't quite catch
all right,
that.
I'll give you an example. I'll give you an example.
Sorry.
I run Obsidian. Okay, so Obsidian. All right, no, not Obsidian is a Flatpak. I run Bitwarden as a native package because I don't like the Flatpak.
Right.
And then I have some applications I prefer the Flatpak over the native packages. So when I say Flatpak, I mean any containerized application, whether it's an app image, Flatpak or Snap, whatever. So that's one category. And the other category is native packages. So what is it? So basically I would have a discussion, more like a discussion application appetizer, and maybe with some examples. But what do you prefer running one over the other? I'll try and find a good way to word it for next week. But that's just my it's an idea. Just kind of maybe discuss some of the trade-offs and whatnot.
Yeah.
So like Scrubgo says, like Firefox.
Sounds good.
I prefer Firefox as a native application over over a containerized one. However, I like Chromium as a Flatpak instead of a native package, even though you do happen to lose some of the security benefits of actually having it as a native package. And we can talk about that nuance. That's a rabbit hole that I fell down, holy tamale, for some time. Like what the security aspect of browsers using native or Flatpak in Linux, and how some of the security things in Linux are actually better than the containerized, which sent me down quite I was amazed by this. So it's an interesting discussion. I think that just that one piece is probably a show in and of itself. But yeah, anyway. So I thought it might be a fun, like this or that kind of an episode of Application Appetizer. Thoughts?
Sounds fun.
Okay. What about you, Hip Dad?
Good.
Have I lost my mind? I mean, yes. Don't answer that part.
I think you have
yeah.
maybe flashbacks from the 60s.
Okay.
Yeah.
I wasn't around then.
I have an advantage as far as back when I built my computer, I put 64 gigs of RAM in it. I guess I saw the future because
okay.
people were teasing me like, why do you need 64 gigs? It's like, well, because I could afford it. Yeah. And I figured I'd go ahead and make sure. So as far as Flatpaks and all the dependencies and the usage of my memory and stuff, it's irrelevant to me. So it's kind of a boring topic for me, to be honest.
Okay. Well, you can just talk whatever applications.
I mean, I'll still participate, and I may have something to put in. I don't know.
Okay. Well, there's just some interesting, like I'm trying. It's almost like a discussion about how I'm trying to find my footing of whether to go. Do I want to go with this or do I want to go with that? Which sounds like a Slim Boy Shady thing, but
right.
Anyway, so that's what we'll talk about next week. So, anyway, we'll talk about that next week. But if you have any other suggestions, so there can be distribution suggestions, application appetizer suggestions, or I lost track of time there again. Or if application ideas, poll ideas, anything you got, I'd love to have those suggestions and go through that. Although I will tell you, this last week was kind of rough, and so I'm like 1,000 emails behind on my email right now. So I'm 951 right now. So
are you an inbox zero guy?
Yes, I'm a zero inbox guy.
Good man. Good man.
I can have everything read or dealt with.
Triaged.
Yes, and so right now I'm gonna try and get through those, but I got these projects that are just putting some pressure on me. So anyway, try and get through that. But I'd love to hear some suggestions. I'm a big fan of email, except when I have 951 messages. But some of that is are some news groups that I follow as well. So which I probably should have pre-sorted, but I'm not because I didn't like the pre-sorting before and I didn't read them. And then anyway, you don't need to hear all that. Nobody cares. And I would like to maybe it'll be a topic or at some point in time, but 01 did say about the idea that non-containerized browsers are more secure. Seems counterintuitive. I'll put that stuff together. I might actually write an article on it because I spent a long time researching this, and I'm not a security researcher, so it'd be from the perspective of, hey, here's the information I have right now. Anyway, yeah. All right, so I guess time for last call then. I'm not too terribly far behind, but we're far enough behind. That's fine. So I don't know, Eric, if you had anything exciting on. I meant to ask Dale if he got to messing around with something he was supposed to talk to me about last week. Can't remember now. Anyway, I should check his channel out. But Eric, I don't know if you had anything exciting.
I'm gonna pass and just let people go. I mean, it's the same every week, just podcasts and little stuff. So
I know, but you actually once you plug that your podcast though.
Okay, Linux OTC or Mintcast are the two that I'm doing on a regular basis now.
Awesome. Well, cool. You know, I need to listen to Mintcast again. It's been a while.
It's fun.
Pip Dad.
Yes, sir.
Thanks for being here.
Hey, thanks for having me. I appreciate your tolerance of my elderliness.
Why would I have?
What am I doing?
I tolerate young
World
people.
of Warcraft. Oh, okay.
Yeah, we play World
I'm,
of Warcraft.
I'm playing World of Warcraft. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. Nice graphics.
Yeah, it's kind of a test because. Yeah, it's kind of a test because I'm mining Monero, watching you guys, listening to you guys, playing World of Warcraft, OBS Studio, Signal, Steam, and I'm not having any issues. But my big plug is Fluxer, of course. Now I will say Fluxer is in its infancy. Okay, very similar to Discord, but it has its issues. Loading GIFs is a little glitchy, and sometimes the server goes down for a little bit so they can rebuild and everything. So they're in its infancy, but they're working on it, and I give them credit for that. It's probably the first program I'm considering investing in, like a yearly payment.
Oh.
And Fluxer in a flat pack is what I use. As far as native and as far as the phone app, I don't know the reliability of those yet.
Gotcha. Well, I think it's good to have variety out there. I happen to, I mean, I was on Mumble like long before Discord was a thing.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Mumble's still
I remember
popular.
the Mumble days, and it's still there. Yeah.
Yeah, people still use it.
I still have it installed. I haven't used it.
Still out there.
I have one Mumble server that I'm a part of. You know what it's called? You know which one? Jupiter Broadcasting.
Oh, okay.
That's
there
it.
you go.
Yeah. So I cut my teeth on these things with that. That's only I got.
Now, do you ever see yourself going to like a Jitsi client for your broadcast or anything?
We did that years ago, and it was okay.
Okay.
I don't know. I mean, I'm not opposed to trying other things. And, I mean, Discord actually.
The problem with it is hosting it, because it's a bandwidth hog.
Right.
So you'd have to have some reliable way of hosting, because the one that's available just on their website is not very robust. I mean, in terms of like how many people you can have join before it starts to get a little choppy. So Jitsi works great if you can throw an absolute ton of like unfettered bandwidth at it. So I tried it on a VPS one time, and in an hour with like 6 people, it used, I can't even remember. It was unbelievable the amount of data it used. So
we could
not
use,
exactly the most optimized. Yeah.
We could use the OpenSUSE one. We've done that in the past. I don't know where that server actually exists, but
Oh yeah, yeah, I forgot about that.
But that's a pretty good size one.
You just need to find someone to freeload off of.
Yeah, OpenSUSE.
That works.
Yeah, but I mean, it's fine. We can probably check that out again. I don't know. I think I kind of want to get my footing here with Discord. I know people are all upset with Discord, and I get it. I think it's just the way. I think the world's just kind of in a dark place right now, and we just kind of have to weather the storm for a while. Anyway, let's see. Let's go on here. So, Jinda, have you built any cool cranes lately?
No, I don't. Unfortunately, I don't play with cranes. I got to do the stuff below them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. No, the last one I think was like a little over 100,000 pounds. I had to do a lift for.
Wow.
My sister asked me what it picked up, so I sent her the drawing. I go, "You tell me." And she goes, "I don't know what that is." And I go, "Neither do I." I just smile and nod.
Make it do this. You got it, boss.
Yeah, make it do this. Okay, you got it. I know the dimensions. That's all I need to know. I'm not sure what that thing is.
Right. I get it. Well, very cool. I'm glad you could be here.
Thank you so much for having me. Sorry I got out of control, I know.
I know.
I apologize before somebody else mentions it.
Well, Mike did send me a bunch of cross messages about you, saying you need to get yourself under control. I'm kidding. He didn't send me any messages. Penguin.
Hey, what's up?
I don't know. I think we're doing a Linux Saloon, I think.
Yeah.
Thanks for being here.
You're welcome. And basically, I'm just plugging along. Oh crap, my headset's about to go to dead, but oh well. No, I just recorded a video for my YouTube channel, and it'll be released Monday. So I'm finally getting that back going. I know I've been for like a month or so, but finally I'm getting that going. Just as this little sneak peek, I'm just it's about Ubuntu no longer being GNU/Linux anymore.
Interesting.
So yeah, I won't spoil the whole thing, but
okay.
Yeah, that's what's going to be released on Monday. So hopefully I can get out 2 or 3 weeks videos a week now that things are winding down at work. So yay.
Well, good deal. Well, I guess when you have a link, be sure to share it. And then Mike.
Oh yeah.
Mike, good to have you here.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Anything you want to plug? So you sent me you sent me a link to the Windows version of Markalite. I this week got away from me fast, so I apologize.
Yeah, just when you get a chance to try it out, see what you think.
I didn't know what happened like this entire week. Just like
It's called life, man.
It wasn't bad. It was like a whiplash, like being rear-ended in a car.
Called life.
I had RSV.
What's RSV?
That virus, that old people respiratory virus.
Oh,
I had it for 2 weeks. It was
that's
fun.
no fun.
Not.
Yeah, it sounds like a
Basically
great
similar
time.
to pneumonia.
It doesn't sound good at all. Well, all right. You can check out mythings@cubiclate.com. I write things sometimes. In fact, I got an article I'm basically done with and need to publish, but I was trying to look for pictures, and I was going to publish it 2 weeks ago. Haven't gotten there, but I'll get to it. But I want to thank you all for your support, however you do it, being a part of the conversation, both here in the Discord meeting, the YouTube stream, as well as for everyone for watching this show after the fact. Thank you so much. That's mighty kind of you. I also want to thank everyone involved in making Linux and open source tools possible for us to not only have this conversation, but also to have fun and enjoy our technology. Linux truly puts personal back in a personal computer. Oh, thank you, War Thunder, for sticking around here, even if this Discord goes really sideways. I just saw that pop in. So, also, thank you for stopping by. Be sure to tip developers, and please remember to Linux responsibly. Until next time.